Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to a live stream this morning. I wasn't planning on doing a live stream today, but it's been a big week. It's been for me, a taxing week, mentally, emotionally. Um, some of you guys have been following some of the news uh, more closely than others, but essentially, this was kind of one of these big weeks where generative AI music crept into the sync marketplace for the first time. So I think it was last week, Red Lobster, which coincidentally or not coincidentally is also probably filing for bankruptcy. So I don't know if they're in a strong position, but nonetheless, I don't think that's something worth like focusing on. Um, they did use generative AI music to help promote some new items that they're putting on their menu or whatever. So they put it online. It's kind of like this ridiculous, silly mixtape. And, I checked out the music, and some of you guys maybe have. And, you can hear the artifacts. You can tell that it's sort of, there's something off about it. It doesn't feel 100% human. But, the lyrics sometimes are funny, kind of clever. And they definitely feel like modern, relevant pop songs, country songs, those all different styles, hip hop, all that kind of stuff. So, if you guys have been with me for, hey, what's up, Isomatic? If you guys have been with me for, the better part of a couple of years, it was about 1 year ago that I had this presentation about what's going on with generative AI music and what's the future of sync. I have a lot invested in this industry. I have devoted my entire life essentially to it for the last 16 years. So, needless to say, this was kind of concerning for me. Kind of is an understatement, very concerning. And so I just wanted to kind of, rather than run away from it or bury my head in the sand or pretend like, it's not that good. It's going to be like 10 years before it's good. I wanted to kind of almost assume, hey, what's up, Alex? I wanted to assume that this technology was going to exponentially get better and put my head in the next couple of years of what does this mean for us potentially. And so I said, hey, Ed, I said 2 to 5 years. I said, yeah, 2 to 5 years. I think this technology will be something that enters our marketplace and is something that we have to potentially start competing with and figuring out how do we remain relevant, right? With this new kid in town that's basically faster, cheaper, more efficient than we are. So, what's up, Atlas? And I did not anticipate that 1 year we would have our first major commercial release of AI music with a TV film client, right? Red Lobster would have been a client that you or I maybe would have gotten a placement with this kind of an opportunity, right? So now that doesn't mean that, like, obviously, tomorrow all of the sync industry will be replaced by robots and computers and AI, and it's all over for us. Like, I don't obviously think we're there. But it was a still, even though I have been mentally and psychologically trying to prepare myself for this sort of big change in our industry. When I read that news report, it just hit me across the face. It felt like a gut punch. It just felt like boom. Even though I thought I was ready for it, I really wasn't, and it just felt like a big smack in the face. And just to be honest with you guys, I have not been feeling very optimistic or positive about sync and the future of our industry and music in general and AI companies and like across the board in my life. It just feels like there's this big dark cloud that's just kind of like hovering over everything. And I know it's not going to be there forever, and I know that my usual optimistic side will return, and I'll find sort of a path forward. And I actually still am optimistic about the future of music. Sync is anybody's guess as to what's going to happen. I almost am at the point where now I don't even want to make predictions because I just don't, almost none of the stuff I saw coming, even though I was looking at it very closely about a year ago. So, hey, what's up, Andrew? So I'm not feeling extremely confident about making predictions in the future anymore because I've just been humbled over and over again. I don't know the future. I don't know how things are going to play out. I don't know the legal implications of this. I don't know if AI companies, I know scraping is now this word that some people are pushing back and they don't want me to use, but model training off of publicly available music, including ours, including a lot of mine. Right now, I feel like, a couple of years ago when it was the artists, the visual artists, remember they were putting up a big fight and saying, hey, you guys are stealing our stuff and you're ripping us off and you're not cutting us in, and they're fighting their fight. Now it's, as I did predict, it's going to enter our marketplace, and we're going to now feel like we're at battle with these AI companies. And sure enough, that's where we are right now. So, not going to lie, I've got a lot of anger. I've got a lot of feeling of, I guess it would be maybe some resentment, but just sort of just mostly anger of feeling like the hard work that I personally have been putting into my music over the years, and many of you guys, knowing that there are companies out there just whatever they're doing with their little spiders, their little spider bot, crawl bots, whatever, learning from how we're creating our music and making their generative models extremely efficient and productive and cheap and easy to use, while we're just not at all included in any of that. Is how do you not feel some anger about that, right? Now, how I feel is irrelevant based on what the courts are going to decide. So the courts are going to go, hey, musicians, how do you guys feel about this? Because that's going to make a difference for us. Emotionally, it's obviously not going to be that relevant. So I'm not delusional in thinking that my emotion is going to win the day in terms of, or our emotion is going to win the day. It's going to come down to laws. It's going to come down to fair use, copyright, all that kind of stuff. And in some of the videos I've been putting out lately, it's just I'm trying to put up any roadblock that I possibly can, right? And part of that could be wishful thinking, where I'm just trying to reach for something. And, I do think there are some arguments that could work in our favor. But for every argument that I put out there, and some of you guys have given me some great feedback, poking some holes in my arguments, and it's like making me go like, damn it, you're right. Maybe there is something here that's not airtight, and maybe we do have a weaker position than I thought. I'm not a lawyer. I took a little bit of law in college, and I am really interested in law. Believe it or not, it might sound kind of weird, but I actually am interested in it. So I've been kind of going down a rabbit hole lately, just reading a lot, listening to a lot of lawyers talk about this stuff and talk about the implications of it, and trying to just wrap my head around it the best I can. But obviously, I'm not involved in the legal battle of all this kind of stuff. I'm just on the outside, armchair, critic, essentially trying to make sense of all this just weird new place that we're in. But the point of all of this is not necessarily all of these minutia and these details, but I want to really get into these emotions that we're kind of going through right now, because I have actually heard from a few of you here on YouTube, and also even recently in Sync Academy, a few members saying, that you're really struggling with making music, like even wanting to keep making music, because there's obviously this thought, and I've had this thought as well myself personally. So that's why I know if a few of you, and this is how I usually know, and I can kind of take the temperature on what's going on in the community. If I get the same kind of comment from 4 or 5 members, chances are there's a large number of people that are also feeling the same way, but maybe don't want to share it, don't want to talk about it. It's kind of, especially as men, let's just be honest, we do not want to admit when we're feeling weak, or we're feeling depressed, or we're feeling kind of not really optimistic. We tend to want to, and there's a societal pressure in probably many ways to hide that and not talk about that, not share that. And I'm trying to just say that forget all that. Let's just be real about it, right? Because I think, in my life, I've definitely noticed in the times that have been really hard and really stressful and really depressing, and we struggle to figure out how we're going to move forward. The only way to really move past that is to go through it, right? So trying to avoid it, or distracting ourselves, or deluding ourselves and trying to believe something like coping, and and creating these kind of false hopes for ourselves can lead us down to even bigger problems, I think, in the future. And I think it's okay to just be like, I'm struggling with this right now, and I don't have the answer, and I don't know if I should be making music anymore. Why am I making music? If I'm struggling so hard. I had one member that was saying that he's really been struggling for many years, trying to get better at creating and producing and mixing and mastering, and it's like he feels like he's been making some strides, and starting to get into the game, and right when he feels like he's getting his foot in the door, it's like AI music is just this glacier, just slowly creeping towards him, or quickly feels like now, right, is creeping towards us. And so he's struggling of like, why should I keep trying to get better at this craft when a computer is going to just outpace me, beat me? And also, the other thought that I've been struggling with is like every song that I put up into a catalog from now on, I can pretty much assume that some AI model is going to train off of it. What is that doing for my enthusiasm for, putting new music out there? And some of you might not be struggling with any of this, and that's okay. I'm not trying to bring anybody down. I don't think that there's any reason. Like, if you're feeling confident and excited still, and this is unfazing you, God bless you. That's great. I do not want to say that we all need to be feeling worried or concerned or depressed about this. No, I'm just saying that some of us are there, some of us, and we're all going to be going through this at different seasons and different phases. There are going to be some moments where we feel really depressed, really not excited about music. There's going to be moments where we're like, I'm excited about this. I think there's going to be a great future for us. I want to use these new tools. I want to, wrap my arms around all this kind of stuff. And we're all going to be here in different places. But I think one thing that I can certainly do is provide just a sort of open platform for you guys all to just feel however you're feeling and express how you're feeling. Like that, I think is really extremely important right now. I made this analogy when I was talking about this about a year ago that, this is kind of like we're all bobbing up and down in the ocean, and this AI thing, this revolution is like this huge wave off in the distance, and it's getting closer and closer, right? And it almost feels like that Red Lobster placement was like the first little lift of momentum of like, oh, okay, I can feel that now. That's close enough. I can feel a change, right? But we're all together in this ocean together. So one thing I think this can do for us, one of the optimistic sides of all this is it's going to probably help us stick together even more and really connect even more with each other, build even deeper community with each other, create even more meaningful relationships, and really just like empathize and connect on this kind of like this tricky moment that we're in. So I think since the future is unknown, since I don't have a crystal ball, I don't actually have that future predicting app that I was, joking about in the last session. Since I don't have these things, what can we do, right? Like, as we always do in our lives, we always have to go, what can I control? What can I cannot? What can I not control? And obviously, laws and the future of AI and the future of sync, out of my control, out of your guys' control, out of publishers' control, out of AI companies' control. Like, nobody's got the crystal ball on where this is all going to move up. So we got to figure out what we're going to do. And I'm very confident there's going to be an optimistic other side of this. While we're going through it, I think it's okay to just be depressed. It's okay to feel bummed out about it. It's okay to struggle with the futility of like, I don't know if I should just give up or should I keep going. I think each of us has to go down to a deeper root. Why are we doing what we're doing? And AI is definitely giving us that gift. It doesn't feel like a gift, but it is definitely a gift that's going to force us. And it's a theme I've talked about on my channel many, many times, where often, obviously in sync, you guys know, I think all of you guys probably here know, sync is going to kick your butt, right? You're going to get rejected. You're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel angry. You're going to have disappointing royalties. You're going to get passed over. You're going to get rejected. You're going to get writer's block. You're going to not want to make any more music. I mean, you name it, you're going to run into it. And every time you run into those obstacles, there's got to be a deeper underlying reason why you keep torturing yourself. Like, why are you doing this, right? And AI is going to make us go even deeper than we ever have before, I think, because I think we're going to go into a level of why do we make music at all? That's going to, because that we are not going to be able to keep up with the quickness, the speed, the productivity level for commercial purposes of AI music. I think we all know that that's not a battle human beings are going to win. Now, I know the common meme out there is like, well, we just got to use the AI tools and then we'll be competitive with the AI. I'm like, the one thing that falls apart immediately from that is like, okay, let's run through that hypothetical, right? We're going to use, let's say, new modern synths that are AI powered, where we can just like utter, and there's some of those are coming out now where you can just say what you want and it'll make the sound. Let's say you've got a new futuristic plugin that mixes and masters your track instantly. You don't have to do that. Great. Obviously, creating stems, metadata, that's probably here now, and it's going to just get better and better. So those are the things that are probably going to be happening. But at some point, there'll be a new DAW or plugin that is saying, hey, I'll help you write a chord progression. I'll help you write that lead. I'll help you. And many of us, I think I would be somebody going like, I don't want that. Like, whoa. You're taking away my creative process a little too much there. Like, yeah, mixing and mastering, that could be creative to some of us, but for some of us, it's just drudgery, and I'd rather just click a button and have that done. I'm probably one of those people. I don't enjoy it. But writing my chord progressions for me, or writing my melodies, or structuring a track and then having me fill in, for me, part of the creative process is exploring, is not knowing exactly where this track is going to go. And I love, you guys can probably all agree with this, I love the pleasant surprises where I didn't think this chord progression would come into this song, or I didn't think this melody would fit here, or this lyric just hit me out of the blue. It's been this thing that I didn't like this one particular lyric in the song, and I thought it's what it needed to be. And then right as we're recording, a new idea comes. Like, that's the joy of creation. It's being surprised. It's exploring. It's going on a new adventure. So how many of these AI tools are we going to want to use to keep up with AI, right? Because at some point, the creative process is slow. It's a struggle. It's not always just prompt output. Sometimes it's chord progression. I don't really like that. Wipe it out. Chord progression. Cool, but I don't know. Maybe if that's cool. That moment right there is creation, right? For me, that's the creative process of exploring and trying and not knowing exactly where your next step is going to be, but being so overwhelmed with joy when you find that step and you go, that's what this song or track needed, right? So I don't know if just using AI tools has any chance of us keeping up with AI music. I don't really necessarily think so. I think we have to go deeper on this to realize that there's got to be a reason why we keep making music, even though it might be a much slower, much more laborious and painful process than somebody clicking buttons like a button presser and going track, 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 right? Because it's in the struggle. It's like, that sort of classical yin yang philosophy belief in life is that you do not know joy unless you know pain. And so you don't know the joy of creating music unless you have hit writer's block. And you don't know the joy of completing a song unless you have given up on completing songs many times in your life, right? So anyways, I just don't necessarily know if that is the end all be all way out of this. It's like, we'll just use AI tools and then we'll be competitive with AI generative models. I don't buy that. I'm not seeing how that's going to be a path for us to be competitive with them. Doesn't mean that we're not going to have a purpose and a place and a real value to the world. I think absolutely we're going to, even if not to the corporate commercial world, I think to each other. I just don't see how we're not going to want to hear each other's music, be inspired by each other's music, share our music with other human beings. I don't see how any way we're going to want to replace any of that. So I do think there's a hopeful scenario in the end for all this. But let me get in some of your comments here because I really do want this to be more of like a back and forth and not just me talking the whole time. But let me get into some of your comments and go all the way back up here. Atlas is saying, I'm interested in when licensing companies will catch up with modern music trends. Not to sound like a know-it-all, but music heard in commercials and shows are at least 3 to 5 years behind what is trending. Really? I don't know if I agree with that. I've heard a lot of stuff that gets placed that's kind of like, the modern, I don't know. I mean, maybe you're way advanced. Maybe you're on some like future sound that maybe the rest of us haven't caught up with. But I feel like, sync does follow the modern trends. And, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's across the board. Probably some are a little bit further behind than others. The bright side of AI is that AI music is copying a lot of pop trends, but AI cannot copy what is coming out in music that is more unique and newer. Yeah, and that's kind of like, you're sort of spoiling what I wanted to kind of throw out there because I'm trying to, for myself, and I'm obviously going to share it with you guys, I want to create some sort of a North Star, like a flagpole, something to kind of hold on to in the next couple of months and years, because you guys know that the next couple of years are going to be rough. You just saw the Red Lobster thing. They're not the last corporate client that's going to use AI music, guys. And they're not the last, we haven't seen it in a TV show yet. That's coming. We haven't seen it in a film yet. That's coming. Okay, we all know the writing's on the wall. Something is going to be coming. So, and I'm realizing for myself this week, it just sent me through the ringer. I cannot afford, as a dad, as, whatever, a musician, as a YouTuber, as all the things that I'm doing, a business owner, I can't afford every week to be like depressed, excited, depressed. I know that's not it's a marathon. I got to figure out how do I sort of sustain myself through this. And this is so far what I've come up with, but this isn't the final one. But this is essentially a meme that I'm going to hold on to and maybe refine. I'm curious, actually, you guys let me know your thoughts of this. The meme is going to go, AI music, well, AI is let me start it again, get it clear. AI is rehashing yesterday's music. Our job, human beings, is to make tomorrow's music. So that's something that I am playing with, toying with, and it's helping me to figure out what my purpose and my place would be in a world where AI is just cranking out music all day long, right? Okay, why am I still struggling here? What am I doing? Okay, well, that's busy making and rehashing and revamping everything that's already existed. My job is to lead, right? And that's what I'm wondering if that's going to be something that we have to lean more into, is kind of what I've been talking about in some of our AI videos in Sync Academy, which is you got to be more of a vanguard. You got to push yourself creatively. You got to do things you maybe didn't think about doing before, merging, blending, twisting up genres, trying new things, inventing new genres, right? Getting extremely creative with where our music can go. And that might be a very, very important thing for us to keep our eye on as generative, rehashed, derivative works just gets thrown out in the world like nothing, like confetti, essentially. What's going to separate us is creating tomorrow's sound, right? Creating that next, wow, I've never heard anything like this. This is so interesting. That, to me, it seems like it's going to be where we have to really focus if we want to remain relevant, not just in sync and stock, but just, as musicians and producers. So let me know what you guys think. I'll get to those comments at the end, though. I really want to go through all these thoughts. I want to see how you guys are feeling. Let's see. Blue skies, yes, real music that has human imperfections and emotion will become more valuable. I agree too. I think the flaws is what we really want. I don't think we want the perfected, perfectly polished stuff. Wolfgang says, I embrace the competition with AI. Well, good for you, man. Glad that you're feeling it. Drew, you're saying you're unfazed. Really cool, man. Glad to hear that. Drew's also saying his career started in 2001 during the rise of Napster and record sales crash. I wasn't supposed to have a career in the first place, but I'm still here. And that's a great point, Drew. I do think about that as well. He's saying that AI is basically just the next mountain to climb. And absolutely, you guys remember that? Like Napster was the death of the music business. I actually had a really cool presentation of the history of recorded music and the entire music industry. I don't know how many of you guys saw that one, but many times the music business was supposed to be dead, and it didn't. It's figured out to move past. Now there was, let's just keep it real though, from 2000 to 2017, record sales and music sales just went down for almost 2 decades. And obviously it's easy to go like, well, that sounds like it's the end of it. It was thanks to streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, all that kind of stuff, where you've seen this kind of growth now coming back to, even not quite there, but it's starting to hit some of that. It's getting close to the highs that we had like in the mid 90s with the CD, boom. So there's room for optimism, and there's room for a future where I think there's going to be some great stuff. But you're right. I mean, I think this one feels different only because every other technological innovation definitely sped up our productive process. Like people that were doing music production 10, 20, well, let's say not 10, probably 20 to 30, 40 years ago, probably are looking at me going, Jesse, you're not a producer. Like, come back to this old school system where you literally had to record live in front of a mic, all the musicians in one room, and if one person had the wrong note, you did the whole thing over again, right? They're looking at us with our modern DAWs and our edits and our quantizing tools and going like, these are not producers. I totally, it's not lost on me that we are certainly standing on the shoulders of people that really had a whole different set of tools that they had to work with. So this is that next element, but of course, I think obviously what feels different here is the ability to just click a button and have a song. That's what feels like we are entering something new here, something very transformative. So that's definitely what I feel, and I think a lot of you guys are obviously understanding that as well. So Kevin says we have to get realistic. The robots are coming, yeah, and embrace it. And that's a great point, Kevin. But also embrace it. What does that mean? Because embrace it could mean for some people give up, and that's kind of really where I want to go into kind of the dark. I want to go into the darkness with you guys on that kind of stuff of like, some of us have been feeling really thinking that that embrace it means we sort of just accept that we're not relevant anymore. I mean, really, you go down to the core of it, that's what the big fear is like, am I as a human being, as a musician, right? As a person with this craft, with this love of making music, am I obsolete? Like, is this what this feels like? Is this, throughout history, as the revolutions happen, am I just done now? It's just a very valid and really hard, troubling emotion to go through. So that's what I think I really want to sort of focus and not get too sidetracked away from. So J.I. saying our libraries need the best and most creative work now more than ever. They are on the front line. Our industry as well entrenched. We just need to defend as much of our land as possible. Yeah. But it's a high risk, high reward folk in the road. Yeah. Yeah, and that's something I've been struggling with too, Jay. Is like the defending of it. I've found in life defending things usually doesn't work out that well. It's much better to be offensive, right? Rather than because you think about like the Napster situation, right? What were labels doing? They were trying to defend, right? Defend, sue, shut down, right? Which I understand. It's their business model. It's like their entire industry being like just gutted by like 14-year-olds in their basement, essentially, right? Scary stuff. But what they could have also done in addition to that is set up an online place, a safe place to purchase music digitally. They didn't do that. They weren't setting that up. They weren't trying to be proactive with that. They had to wait till Apple basically took the initiative to create iTunes. So that's what I mean by it's better to look at the future and be offensive and think about what's the next iteration that I can be a part of. Where's the next opportunity? Or if I like this, like AI music is a glacier. We're not stopping it, guys. I know people think that maybe there's some law that'll be passed. It's not going to get stopped. I don't think so at all. And I'm not trying to stop it. I am not anti-AI or anti-tech. But I think we need to realize that there's an inevitability to it. And so defending something that may or may not stick around for a long time, how much of my energy should I be putting into that versus going, okay, this is an inevitability. Like if I'm a label in 1999, all right, this is an inevitability. We'll do what we can to try to slow it down or whatever. But at the same time, we also need to be thinking about what's the next thing, because we are caught in this technological revolution. And we just learned from history that technological revolutions cannot be destroyed, even with, because file sharing networks, even though they're not as prominent as they were, they're still around. Like, you can still go get free stuff right now if you wanted to. So it's not like they can ever shut them down. But because there's so many great, cheaper, not cheaper, but more higher quality, easier to use platforms like Spotify and iTunes and all the places, Apple Music, where we get our music, because those exist, less and less people are using file sharing networks. So you kind of have to go on offensive as well, or probably more so than being on defense. See, there you go. So Brad's saying, as of next week, I'll have retired from the music industry, tired of the whole situation in general. Brad, I hear you out, man. And I just want to say, I totally understand it. You're not alone. Just want to let you know that you are not alone feeling that way. I do appreciate the honesty, and it's your choice to make. I'm not going to be here telling people, no, you got to make music. And it's not tough love hour. That's just not the time for this. Like, the time for this is to just give people some space to feel how they're feeling, make their decisions, and I get it. Like, I just totally understand it, because I've struggled with that. I will, at the end of the stream, before I go, give you some optimistic hope for why I feel the future is still bright, and why I think that there's going to be an amazing future for us. But I don't want to dismiss these kind of feelings, and dismiss this kind of sentiment, because it's just a very valid sentiment that many people are feeling right now. So thank you, Brad, for letting me know. And I totally get it. That's all I can say. I totally understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and why you're making the choices you're making. So I validate it. I think it's it's the right choice for you. So anyways, the more regulations, the better on AI. Yes and no. I can see both sides of that. Um, yeah, I don't know. This idea that we're going to be regulating AI, that might be a sort of hopeful belief that I don't know if that's actually going to be something that can actually help us in this moment. I mean, like I said, file sharing networks are still here. They were trying to shut those down. Why aren't those gone? Didn't we have regulations and lawsuits and shutting? Yeah, we did all that. It's just whack-a-mole, right? When you do that kind of thing, I'm going to regulate it. Okay, pop, you got that one, and then four pop up in its place. That's just how this stuff is going to work. And if it has to exist outside the U.S., it'll go outside of the U.S., right? There's just going to be a way for technology to kind of, law is this kind of half-baked attempt to try to control reality. And technology kind of proves to us right now over and over again. That's also something I really want to emphasize. The hardest part about all this is knowing and feeling that we have no control over this. That's what's really scary. I don't know if you guys feel that as well. We don't really get to control this. Like, it's just happening, and there are human beings that are obviously programming it and doing it. So I'm not saying it's just like something sprouting out of the ground, but in a way, this is kind of what human beings have always been doing. We've been always taking our tech and pushing it. Like, if we don't want AI companies to be doing what they're doing, should we say that we don't want the people that created YouTube to have created YouTube? Like, this is a cool platform, and we didn't know we could do this. Should we not have tried to create airplanes and fly off the ground like crazy people? Like, that's what our species does. Like, we try to push the bounds of what we can do with technology. That's actually what has allowed us to get as far as we have, to create the sort of modern day luxuries that we have in life. So I'm generally across the board very pro technology. But of course, that doesn't mean that I'm just like, all right, great. I'm glad that they're training off of all of our music for free and not giving it. Like, I don't have to be excited about that part of it, right? I have the ability to say, I definitely am not happy about that. I'm very pissed off about that. Don't feel good about that. But at the same time, I can try to, well, whatever. I'm just letting you guys know that's just where I'm at with it right now. So, let's see. Back up there. Okay. Mauricio, I feel you, man. I'm with you. We're with you. I felt pretty crappy about this too a couple of weeks ago, but right now I'm positive about it. True artists will always remain relevant. Awesome. Yeah, and I think that's kind of sort of that phrase that I gave you guys is kind of where my mind tends to go to try to find my sort of silver lining in all this, to say like, yep, AI music is doing amazing things, but it's not making this song I'm making right now. And it's not saying the things that I'm saying right now in this song or in this track. So that's definitely giving me a lot of hope for the future as well. So, um, right. Kevin, you're saying you're using AI as a tool. Yeah, and I've been using some of the AI vocal things. Like I've been trying to mess with, like, changing my voice into a different vocalist, into a female vocalist, and yeah, it's kind of fun. There's some cool use cases for all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I still think it's good to kind of get curious about it, but I think my point still stands that this idea that you're just going to use AI tools and compete with a computer. I mean, unless you've got that Neuralink brain interface that literally gives you the power of a neural net, and you can click a button and go like produce a track in 30 seconds, until you got that technology, I'm not sure our speed is going to ever keep up with what these computers are doing. But it doesn't mean we don't have a purpose, we don't have a future, we don't have a reason to keep making music. So I want to make sure I'm clear on that. S Rhodes, everyone here saying that unique and new music will have an advantage is using reference tracks and copying every sound and style element that is trending at the moment. So good luck with that. Yeah, and that's a great point. That we are probably going to want to less and less rely on reference tracks, especially if we want to create something unique and original and compelling for our industry and for the world as a whole. Yeah. I do think there's, especially in the beginning phases of you learning how to create music, using reference tracks is still going to be a great idea. But definitely at some point, you're going to want to, once you get this feel for how to create a compelling track, you want to kind of throw out the blueprint and you want to sort of start carving new territories. So you're absolutely right that's kind of something that we've been sort of trying to steer some of our members in Sync Academy towards, which is like, yeah, use reference tracks to get yourself up to speed. But once you feel like you've got up to speed, now you need to take the reins. Now you need to be the one creating reference tracks for others to follow and for AI essentially to follow. So it's actually a good point. I do agree with you there. Yeah, human connection and live shows for sure. JI saying he's going to go 100% human, handmade, real recorded instruments, efficient AI computer tools will only help you compete with AI, which is a battle we cannot win anyway. Yeah, I would pretty much agree on that one. So Kevin is saying it's a voyage of discovery for prompt. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but Fike Sillier, what is your suggestion for the following scenario? Indie developer needs 15 songs, budget is $0. Right now, there's a chance for $20 in using Suno or hunting for, I don't know what CCO music is, that can be used. I'm not sure. I'm $0. There's an indie developer that needs 15 songs and they have no money for it. They'll be going to Studio or Suno or Udio or any of these kind of, that's where they're going to go for sure if they've got no money for it, and do the best they can with whatever they can generate with those. I think that's what you're asking. So AI is not copyrightable. This is from Sarah. So you'll never own what you generate with AI. Yes, and that's probably going to hold up true with music. My other concern with that is, it's right now you can hear AI music and you go like, oh, okay, that's AI. So like if you submitted that to a library right now, they're obviously going to go, no thanks. There's no copyright associated with that. We know you didn't do that. We know that that's AI. So please don't ever do that. But what happens in, I don't know, a year, less than a year, when you can no longer distinguish? So let's say, Sarah, you go prompt in 15 songs that sound just like a human being because the quality got there and you can basically edit it and you can do all those kind of things, and you send that to a library. How are they going to know that that was you or AI generated? Because I know some producers are going to try to get away with that, to just prompt something in and use it and go like, all right, here you go, and claim that they have a copyright to that music. I don't have the answer for that. I don't know where we go with that. I definitely have a feeling that maybe libraries are really going to shut down their sort of open door, open submission policy for people that they don't know. And if you're ever going to work with a library, there might be a case of they really need to do a much more thorough, interview with you and find out what's your creative process, what are you using, kind of really investigate who the people they are really working with, rather than just taking just some music from somebody on the internet, right? Because that could now become a risky thing for them to do. So I could definitely see a lot of libraries sort of starting to close their doors quite a bit to say like, we're not just accepting anybody. And if you're going to get into our platform, you really have to prove that you belong and that you really are proving that you're doing this 100% yourself and you're creating copyrightable music, right? Because they need that. Like libraries cannot survive without copyrightable music for sure. Brad saying this topic reminds me of the talks the world was having about how computers are for cheaters and people trying to fake it. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one, but This was the topic of the 80s. I think, and even Trevor of Get It Done, you guys have seen him on my channel many times. He kind of had this really great point. He's like, the music business basically has to reinvent itself every 20 years. We are the unlucky ones that just have to reinvent our entire way of doing business every 20 years. And here we are again, right on cue. It was 2020 that, the Napster and the file sharing stuff was disrupting everything. And here we are again, having to redo it. So, yeah, it's just part of our business. So Ed is saying, thought just hit me. We cannot become anyone else. AI cannot be me, no more than I can become Jesse. Imitate it best, so there will always be me. Yeah, absolutely. And that might sound cliche or silly to some people, but that's absolutely the truth, Ed, is that your energy, my energy, the things that we put into our music can only come from us. And so that's what we have to do more digging on, I think, in the next couple of months and years, and figure out what's our why. Why are we still doing this, right? And what is it that I'm really providing of value to this industry? I'll get Neptuno. I'll get great mics, lots of instruments, and make it really human made. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to go in that direction. I think that's really cool. Andrew's saying we all become music editors and supervisors instead of composers. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Like, I think there will be some prompting jobs that'll spark up that you'll start to see where some companies are just going to need prompters instead of actual full-on composers. So some of you guys, that might be a job that some of you guys actually find in a not too distant future. Because, music supervisors, some are pretty good at communicating and talking about music, but not all of them. I mean, I've definitely worked with quite a few. They don't have the lingo. They don't really, or their communication skills maybe aren't great. So there might be a reason for somebody who has music background and great language and communication skills, like those two things, and some tech to obviously be able to prompt stuff. There might be some opportunities for that for sure. Isomatic, I've been focused on as being an artist, making experimental based music and connecting with my audience. It's not sync or licensable music, but it's the most fulfilling route for me right now. And that's awesome, man. Like I really want to champion and applaud you guys that are taking those directions as well. Of figuring out, it might be involved with sync to some degree. It might not be involved with sync to some degree. Either way is okay, as long as what you're doing right there is fulfilling. Like, that's a great word. I love that it's fulfilling and you love it and you're connecting. You're in, you think about it like, what's the point of music? What's the point of art? Is it just the art form itself? Is it just the song itself? I would argue no. I would argue it's the connection that the art form allows us to make with each other. So if you're creating something that's helping people to connect, you're not doing anything wrong. And you don't need to be the best or the fastest. You don't need to be winning any competitions. Because art is not about the best or the most perfect or the fastest. Art is about the connection, right? It's the authentic connection, human to human. That is maybe a little spoiler of where I feel our optimistic future is going to be. Willie is saying, if nobody knows the track is AI, nobody has heard it except you, then you de facto own the copyright because it's basically yours. I mean, that's probably like a philosophical debate that, you might be right on that one because nobody else will ever know. The company that you prompted it from will know. They'll have a database tracker of everything that's been prompted. I guarantee you that. Will you ever get quote unquote caught for saying, no, I wrote this. Nobody else gave it to me. I didn't prompt it. I 100% made this. You're rolling the dice. That's all I can say. Some people will get away with it, of course. But, the other thing too, I want to keep in mind, like, if your idea to make it big is to prompt in music and get like a whole album of music that you didn't really create, you just sort of prompt it in and then get royalty, you're kind of cheating yourself. It might work. I'm not saying it won't work, but you are sort of like, if you actually are a music maker or producer or composer, is that really the best use of your talents? Is that really, think about the end of your life. You're going at the end of your life and you're like, yeah, I sort of cheated the system. I prompted it in and I used something that wasn't legally copyrighted. I said it was, and I made a whole career off of that. Just put yourself on your deathbed. How do you feel about that choice at the end of your life? Is that the legacy you want to leave behind? Is that the sort of is that the feeling of like, yeah, I spent my time well here on earth? And that's maybe judgmental, but that's definitely going to be a thought you're going to have. Somebody's going to have if they're going to do that. So, it's sort of karma, even if you get away with it your entire life, at the end of the day, it's still on your mind. I don't know if anybody really gets away with it, right? Alex is saying, question out of the blue, has anyone been asked to give music for Apple music streaming? You mean for like training? I haven't heard of Apple getting involved with generative AI training, if that's what you're asking. I haven't heard of it yet. Lunaris asking about regulations taking years to come. Usually, yeah, because it's like humans are slow. It's got a debate. You got political disagreements. Everybody's got to grease the wheel. Both parties have to agree, or enough people on both sides have to agree. So, yeah, it could take quite a few years before laws get passed. Like that one law about like that, show your data sort of regulation. If that gets passed, that could take a couple of years for it to finally get passed. So yeah, I don't think I have any clear insight as to there's going to be AI regulation because the government has a hammer called regulation. So they feel like all that what they should be doing on everything regulate. So I can guarantee you regulation is coming. How restrictive is it going to be? What is it? No clue, guys. Don't follow politics or any of that kind of stuff enough to know. Once big sort of things come through the news, I'll definitely share it with you. But again, I'm very, very humble now in terms of making future predictions. I'm just trying not to. The opt-out regulation would be very refreshing for us. Yeah, and I think consent, I think that's kind of what, my pie in the sky belief would be, that if somebody's going to train off of my music, I want to be asked first. I don't want that to just be done. It's not necessarily for a human. I don't mind if humans listen to my music and they get inspired, they want to make something like it. Totally cool. AI music, it just feels like it's a different category. It feels like it's an unfair playing field where they're getting superhuman abilities to be very productive and very proactive in a marketplace like sync that we can't keep up with physically. Our human brains can't. And at the same time, those models got so good because of these brains. That's the feeling of like, ugh, it stings. And it might be fair use. They might get away with it. I don't know. But it still stings. It still doesn't feel good. It still makes me mad. It's still not something I'm very happy about, for sure. Jesse, you've always preached making derivative music. Use reference tracks or you will fail. Suddenly make unique music. What is going on? Well, S, I don't know if you wrote that after I just made the explanation, but yeah, because before AI generative music, the platforms, the strategy essentially that I would say is like most people getting involved in sync licensing have never made a sync track before, right? You've made songs, you've made beats, you've done all kinds of things, but if you're brand new to our industry, there's a sort of formula and a sort of way to craft your tracks to get them up to par with library standards, right? So rather than what I've seen, because I've been doing this for so long, I've seen a lot of producers that try to get into the sync and they just go, well, I don't want to be inspired by somebody else. I'll figure it out myself. And they just left to their own devices create like a 4-minute piece of music that doesn't really get to the point. It meanders. It's sort of unfocused. It doesn't have a clear emotional direction. And so I always tell people, listen, like if you're going to get great at something, you got to learn from the people that have come before you and have already mastered it. So you sort of emulate them first. Then once you figure that out, now you've got the sort of skills under your belt. Maybe you don't have to use reference tracks anymore. So what changed? You're saying what's suddenly make unique music? What's going on? Well, AI generative music obviously has changed the world, and AI technology has changed the world. So it's okay to change your mind about a direction in a particular industry, and that's what I'm trying to convey to you guys. Is what worked for me before generative AI was a potential threat is not going to work anymore. That's why I was making a lot of noise about this a year ago, why I put out those videos in Sync Academy and said, you guys need to start really pushing the bounds of creativity and not necessarily doing what AI is, because what AI is doing is exactly what I was recommending, which is, go find reference tracks and emulate them, right? We can't compete with that anymore, so we need to change. And it's okay to change. It's okay to go. In fact, I would say if you're not changing right now, you're not thinking about this deeply, then you will be absolutely left behind in the dust. So there's got to be some sort of a sense of, okay, the landscape is changing. What do I do at this point? So for the last year, I think it was more about getting curious, getting open about the technology, and kind of wondering like, okay, what do these tools do? What can they do? How can they help me? And that kind of thing. And I think that still can continue on. But now we kind of are getting into this moment where, since the first sync opportunity with AI music came in, we really need to go into a place of, I got to go into a deeper reason as to why I'm doing this. Like that's an emotional, spiritual journey. Has nothing to do with sync. Has nothing to do with stock. Has to do with you, your creator, and your gift of making music. And I'm not here to give you that answer. Like I can't. Nobody can. You've got to kind of go through that, figure that out for yourself. And that's what I want us all to be a part of right now. That's kind of the reason why I'm doing this video, is to say, we're all going through that struggle right now. Some of us aren't phased. That's awesome. Keep doing you. Don't be phased. I love that. I love to hear that. Some of us, as you've heard already, are giving up, retiring, done. Giving up on music, guys. This is a big deal. This isn't just something that's like, oh, whatever, it's just changing times. I feel the weight of this moment in our community, in some of your guys' comments. So I I don't want to just blow past all of that and just go, but you know, there's a reason to be optimistic, and let's just go that way. That's why I really want to make sure that we're holding on to a sense of our humanity, and our humanity sometimes goes to dark places, and just like how life is, you have ups, you got downs. You know, think about this. 1 month ago, guys, remember I was making all this noise and bragging about how I got my biggest placement ever, right? It was that MLB theme song. On top of the world, never been more positive about Sync, never been more excited to share it with everybody and say, man, Sync is a dream place to be, and look at this cool thing that happened to me, and I'm really excited. Of course, 16 years, you know, success in the making. And here I am 1 month later, really, really down. Like, that was a high moment, and here I am not feeling that great or optimistic about our industry. It's 1 month apart, right? So that's what I mean. This is what life is. It's just ups and downs and ups and downs. So all of you guys watching, all 70 of you, wow, I don't know if I've ever even had up to 70 people watching live. That's really cool. I think just the fact that 70 of you are tuning in for this, and I put the title as a lot of us feel depressed about AI music, is kind of proving my point. That, whoops, sorry, it's going to be bright in here now. Anyways, hey, the bright sunshine. The optimistic future has approached us. I think that kind of proves the point I've been trying to make, is that this is a serious moment. This is really tough. This is tricky. And it's okay to feel depressed. It's okay to feel like you want to give up. It's okay to feel however you want to feel about this kind of stuff. I just want us to feel like we are not losing our humanity in the middle of this, right? I want us to basically be able to feel like we can reach out, find community, connect with each other, and just keep it real. That's kind of what I have really prided our community on, Sync Academy, my YouTube channel, trying to just keep it real with you guys the best that I possibly can. I gotta get caught up. You guys are going way faster than me. Okay, so Yash, another great comment here. I do feel obsolete with this whole AI thing going on. Future seems super bleak because no matter how much better I get at producing, God knows how this AI will be 5 to 10 years down the line. That's it. Thank you for sharing that. That's exactly the black pill depressing thought many of us have been feeling from time to time. And it's just a real thought. It's a real fear. It's a real concern. It's a real crisis. Because, you know, I also, like, I realize for me, you know, I've been more active in my sync career lately with some of the opportunities that have come my way. But, you know, I definitely have taken a big step away from being consistently productive with the libraries that I've been working with over the years. But I realized, you know, part of what was freaking me out probably about this new situation is the fact that, you know, my identity has been really wrapped up as the Sync My Music guy for what, 8 years now, something like that. And if Sync is kind of like on the way out, which I'm not saying it is, I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, when it feels in this moment where I'm at, where it's like, man, we are just in uncharted territory. Okay, then what's my purpose? What's my function, right? Yash, just like probably what you're feeling, I'm going like, what value did I bring anymore? Like, Sync was all I've known for the last 16 years, right? It's the one thing that I just got really good at, understood very well, provided, I think, some really high quality coaching and videos and resources on all of it. So, you know, my identity definitely was just going like, do you have a function anymore? You know, if this keeps going in this trajectory and humans are less and less part of the equation, like, what are you going to do, right? What's your function anymore? What value do you bring to other people? And that's a big topic. That's a big thing that I have been, you know, trying to figure out and struggle and coming up with, you know, trying to figure out where I'm going to navigate all this kind of stuff in the future. And I don't know. It's too soon to say anything, right? It's not, you know, I've made that promise to you guys. Like, the day that I feel that making music for production music libraries doesn't make any sense for you anymore, I will make a video and I will let you guys know, guys, just don't think it's going to work anymore. I think we got to sort of wave our white flag and say, robots have taken over this one. We got to move on to something else. And I'll be very sad to make that video, but I will make that video. I promise. I made that promise at Sync Up. I'll make it again this year. I'm making it right now. I will not be misleading you guys into thinking that there's some false hope for the future if I really honestly don't feel it. We're not there right now. I want to make sure it's very clear. We've had one opportunity from a failing restaurant chain use some crappy AI music. Okay, so the sky isn't falling. The end of the industry isn't here. It's not happening. It's just this sort of that feeling that I've been trying to, like, you know, convey to you guys. It's like that, oh God, but what if, right? This is happening now. So what if this and what if that and what if no regulation? What if no consent? What if fair use is okay, right? It's all this what if of the future, which none of us have the answers for. I don't have them, so I don't know where I was going to try to finish that thought, but anyways, just so you guys know, I'm not saying I'm still going to be showing up for opportunities. I'll let you guys know that the libraries that I have relationships with, if they come up to me and say, "Hey, we've got an opportunity," dropping everything, I'm doing it. So I'm not personally giving up on sync licensing, but I want to make sure that you guys are clear on that. That I definitely would never feel good about just constantly pushing you guys in a direction that I personally am going like, well, I'm kind of done with that. Good luck with that, guys. Like, I would feel like crap doing that to you guys. So I'm not going to be doing that to you. I want to be able to sleep at night. Okay. Sleep is very important to me. So I will always be transparent with you guys and let you know when I am done and I don't want to make music anymore for libraries. And when I feel like it's just not a viable path anymore. If, again, this is all, a meteor could hit tomorrow. All this is moves, right? So let's not get ahead of ourselves thinking we know the future. We don't. I definitely don't. Lunar is saying AI is hitting a big ceiling in terms of composition, because composition is all about emotion. So there's no formula to make emotion. So I don't believe AI will make compositions that contain emotions. Yeah, it remains to be seen. I could see both sides of that. I think AI music will be able to emulate emotion good enough that people will kind of fall for it. I just think that is going to be something that's going to be coming. Sorry to maybe put a depressing thought out there. So. Hey, Trevor is here. What's up, Trevor? I gave you a shout out earlier. I don't know if you were here for that. People listened to Skrillex and made thousands of loops, samples, and synth presets based on what they heard. AI is just that, but much faster. Yeah, but also the difference here is that it's a full song, right? I mean, right now, what are they doing? Like 30 seconds, a minute and a half, and they don't usually have like a full, complete, definite ending and all that kind of stuff. So similar, absolutely, that there's going to be derivative work, and that's kind of where that maybe I should give you guys the optimistic future pitch right now before we get too far away from that. Yeah, let me do that now. So in the 90s, I think it was like the mid 90s or the late 90s, the first computer beat the best chess player. Now, I don't know any of the specifics. I don't even know the chess player's name, so that's a very poor reporting of what happened, okay? Very impressive, good computer beat the best human chess player. Now, what do you think everybody was thinking at that moment? And especially in the chess community, all these professional players, professional circuits, tournaments, all these people that are devoting their lives to this game, and their identity wrapped up in it. And immediately they see that the best guy on earth had the best score, beat everybody, didn't stand a chance multiple times against a computer. To the end of the game, right? You'd be like, chess is over. We don't want, who's going to waste their time with a game that a computer will always be better at you? It doesn't matter how good you get. It's futile. Why even try? Fast forward to today, chess is actually more popular now than it ever was in the 90s. There are communities popping up. There are more tournaments. There are like professional circuits. There are people that are, there's a whole bunch of content online now of people playing in the parks with each other and showing off their scores. And there's a whole subculture growing up around chess. Why are these crazy people doing that? They know they're not going to ever be faster, better, smarter than a computer at this game. So why are they doing that? Well, I think it's obvious. We want to play with each other. It's not the game of chess that we love. It's the community. It's the competition. It's the connection we get through the game of chess with other human beings. That's what we wanted it for. We didn't want the actual game. Like, the game is not really what we want. We love to measure our, quickness and our analytical skills against another human being. We want to create a fun community where it's like you look forward to hanging out with the people that play this game with you. There's a whole community now, multiple communities around the world. Chess is just on fire right now. So is music just going to suddenly not be useful, popular, interesting to us, even though computers can do it better and faster than us? That's the optimistic future I see, is that I think we'll actually value music even more. I think we'll have even more opportunity to create community with each other, create music for each other, listen to each other's music, value each other's music, all these things that we want to do, because music is not the thing. Music is actually not what we actually want. We want the connection. We want the authenticity. This is actually what I felt last year at Sync Up. It was like the whole point of all of this stream, Sync Academy, everything I've ever done, the point of it was an in-person event, because those in-person connections are really what we crave. that it's, even getting into sync licensing. Why are you getting into sync licensing? Do you really care that much about getting a placement on the Kardashians or NFL's Fox? Now, like, that's not really actually what we want. We probably want validation, right? We want other human beings to validate us, to say your music is great and we think it's gonna be perfect for this. We want some exposure to an audience, to have other people enjoy our music, right? It's the social connection in music, which is what it's really all about. All art, I think, is actually, that's mostly what it's for. It's a conduit, it's a medium to be able to create human connection in a really cool, interesting, creative way. I don't think computers are taking that away from us. I do think that we're going to want to have community and places for us to thrive, still remaining creative in our slow human way, right? In the way that's much slower, much more painful, but our joy comes from that pain, right? Our joy of creation comes from that struggle. So that's the optimistic future I definitely see, because I'm looking at chess and I'm going, it's happening in chess. Like, if you could predict the future, looking at what happened in the 90s, you probably wouldn't have predicted this future with the chess community, would you? And I think music is even more important to us probably than chess. I mean, maybe not to everybody, but I think to generally most human beings, music has been around as old as time, and I don't think it's going away either. So I do see an optimistic future for us. So hopefully, maybe that kind of cheers some of us up a little bit. But that's my ace in the hole. That's something that I'm really actually looking forward to on the other end of all this. Dermot is saying it's sad is that all the time and money someone invested into learning certain skills will not pay out in the end and never monetize it. So if your purpose of learning to do music is for income, yeah, and that's, so basically what you're saying is like, will there be a future where we can even make money with making music as human beings? I think there definitely will be. The hard part right now is I don't know where. I don't know how. That's kind of one of those things. Like, people are making money in chess. Like, there's definitely ways to monetize your chess career. And if you have, whatever, some great skills in that community, you can definitely still do that. But it'll be probably creative new solutions and new platforms and new ways that I just, I have no idea. So I do think, though, that there's going to be ways. If we value music, we're going to create new industries and new platforms and new ways to be able to allow people that are providing high quality music to keep providing that high quality music and focus on that high quality music. So I do see there's going to be some monetizing efforts with or without sync in the mix. And as I said last year, that's what I'm always looking out for. Like, I'm not married to sync. It's been something that's been a really obviously crucial part of my career. But if and when there's a day where it's not viable, I don't want to be like, all right, I'm giving up. There's no more hope for monetizing my music. I want to look to see if it's like, maybe it's video games, maybe it's VR, I'm always looking around, guys. I have never taken my eye off of the horizon of trying to find where that next frontier will be. And I guarantee you, I shouldn't make any more predictions, but I can almost guarantee you it'll be something that none of us are thinking of right now, because nobody could think of how people are monetizing themselves on the internet in social media, right? In the 90s. Was anybody's foreseeing any of this? Nobody was, right? So I have no clue. I don't think any of us do. So we should probably just keep our eyes open and not think that we know how the future is going to play out. Yeah, Brad has an interesting point. Like, maybe we should just throw out our synths and keyboards and our computers, right? And literally go back to just making our own sounds with our hands, because that's the original instrument, right? And your voice. That's all you really got is your body and your voice. So Lunar is saying, without our music data, they are nothing. If the opt-out regulation comes in and the majority of musicians opt out, the quality of the generations will drop. Yeah, that's true, but that's an if, right? That's a big if. If that's going to happen, don't know. How did the movie directors resolve the AI issue? Maybe we take their leads. I don't know if they have resolved that, Alex. That's a great question, but I don't know if anything has been resolved yet. We've had a couple of rulings from the Copyright Office saying that if it's been 100% generated by an algorithm, an AI algorithm, then it's not copyrightable. But I haven't really been necessarily following if there's a movie director revolt against this. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on that side of it. So we're kind of all in the fight. Hey, Vittorio, good to see you, man. Yeah, and this is one of these kind of like real, it's a realistic fear. 80% unemployment in 3 to 5 years, post-labor economics soon. Maybe I mean that to me feels like a big stretch that we're going to be losing 80% of our workforce in 3 to 5 years. AI right now, there's definitely this kind of thought out there that a lot of tech companies are laying people off because of AI. I don't necessarily know if I buy that 100%. I've been following a lot of people on YouTube that are ex Google employees, Meta employees, and I'm hearing not that from them. A lot of them are saying that essentially there was an overhiring happening during the pandemic, and my here's my just conspiracy theory guess. You guys know it was like 2 years ago Elon Musk bought Twitter and he renamed it to X. You guys remember he cut like what 80% of the workforce like very quickly. He was like, "This is bloated. You've got all these positions. None of these people are doing anything of value. We need engineers, customer service, and whatever. You know, a couple of whatever IT guys." And I think the rest of the tech industry, who was probably also just as bloated, was looking at going like, can you do that? Like, can you fire 80% of your workforce and still remain relevant? And so I think a lot of companies were probably looking at that and just waiting to see how things played out. Because most people predicted they wouldn't last, they wouldn't be profitable, and they would just shut down or whatever. So I think now that a couple of years have gone by, Twitter's not going under. I have no idea if they're doing well or not doing well, but they haven't gone under, right? And he hasn't had to sell it or something like that. My guess is that other tech companies have been following his lead to go like, okay, we don't need 1,000 people in HR. Is that something that do we really need this many people in our HR department? Okay, maybe we can whittle that down. We don't need this other department or this department or things that are not necessarily, there are like job titles that are like, mental health facilitator for employees. Like there's so many new job titles in these tech companies that I think people are coming in going like, listen, if you're not actually providing value for our product and helping us, make a better product, you're gone. And I think usually you're going to probably hold on to engineers, customer service people. I don't even know if Twitter has a marketing team at all. I don't think they really have one. Like that's the kind of stuff where like there are just new ways of running your businesses where I think a lot of these tech companies have probably got way too bloated. They just hired too much, thinking they needed way more people, and maybe that's what some of these aggressive tech layoffs are becoming. Is like we really didn't need this many people to begin with. We can actually slim down and be much more efficient, especially with rising interest rates. Borrowing money is not as cheap anymore. So I don't necessarily buy this belief that it's like AI is taking all the jobs already. So far, what is AI doing? It's a prompt assistant, right? Or it's a text assistant where it can help us, write an email. It can help us write some code, definitely. Obviously, it's generating some pictures. It's generating some image. I'm not necessarily. I'm buying this idea that we've got these like AGI agents already that are sitting there doing people's jobs for them. I don't know if that's where we're at now. That feels like AI hype. That feels like venture capital hype and a little bit of fear and doom kind of prediction, trying to get people to invest and buy stocks in tech companies that have AI technology. So I don't know. Conspiracy thinking, no confirmation on any of that, but that's just where I'm thinking on it. I'm just looking through your comments. Mixed Club saying, I think libraries are going to rely on their proven talent. Vetting will become the key. Yep. I think we're absolutely right on that. The window is going to shrink. And even in our industry, I called it a bubble. The COVID, thing where so many producers and composers were just jumping into our industry. That resulted in probably way too many people getting into sync. And so now we're in a situation where we're going to have to tighten our belt. And a lot of libraries probably will have to as well and go like, I got my core 10, 20 guys and girls. Those are the ones I'm sticking with. Sorry, nobody else. That might be where we're going. I don't know. I have no idea. Just steal ideas from the AI. Reverse Uno card. I love the reverse Uno card. That's hilarious. Yeah, I definitely have had those thoughts of like, how do we get back at these companies? Right? They're taking our stuff. How do we take their stuff? Yeah, the line of thinking usually doesn't lead to anywhere productive, but it is funny actually. I give you props for the humor. Luckily, the musician to song connection is much stronger and more relevant to the consumer than the artist to art connection. Yeah. I agree with that, Andrew, because you're hearing their voice, you're feeling their music play, right? Brad saying, I think cheating the system is how money is made 99% of the time for the rich, by the way. Definitely some people, I think, I don't know. I mean, we don't have to go into that kind of wormhole of cheating the system, but I do think also people that just provide value can do really well in the economy. I don't think you have to cheat the system. If you create something that's just really of high value and people really want to pay for it, you deserve to get the money for it, right? So I don't know if I believe that everybody's cheating to get ahead. I don't know. Some people are for sure. See, I think the EU are pushing for clearly marketing AI things as such, images, music, yeah. And as much as a government wants to say, hey, we got to label these again, it's kind of like whack-a-mole. Is some decentralized, open source model that's creating AI music going to follow the regulation of the US or the EU or the UK? Why would they? Do they have to? No, they don't have to, right? Because you can't even find where this stuff is coming from. So again, this is kind of one of these things where we don't want to get so defensive on thinking that the law is going to save us here. That's why I've never been 100% a fan of thinking that regulations and laws will get us out of this. Again, I will defend and push for anything that I think can help us for sure. But I also don't want to get so like hung up on hoping that a law is going to save us. I just don't think that's going to be likely because you can see it just in our history with Napster and all that kind of stuff, right? Just look at our recent history and see if that helped stop the problem. No, what stopped the problem was being proactive and creating better solutions for the customers rather than just taking music for free from their friends. Um, Sarah said, thanks for responding to my comment and your opinion on that. I think the guilt would eat me up knowing that I didn't make the music myself, so I'll stick with creating things naturally. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think most of us are going to cross that bridge one way or another to figure out what are we doing here, why are we doing it, even if we're going at now it feels like a snail's pace compared to AI, but it's our pace, and our pace is exactly our pace, right? It should be our pace. Would be interesting to see if AI and robots got involved in sports. That would be interesting. A whole robot football league, or probably more wrestling, right? That's kind of what we really want to see. We really want to see robots destroy each other. Man, if I could put money on betting that that's going to be coming to play, absolutely. There's going to be an MMA for robots for sure. That is definitely coming, and we want to see one of them ripped apart and destroyed. It's absolutely going to. But then robots are going to claim they have rights, and they're going to say that this is robot cruelty, and we can't be doing it. Man, futuristic Futurama. You guys know that show? That's becoming reality. Isn't that weird? That's really weird. And that show, it took place in the year 3000. It was like, oh, 1,000 years we're going to be having robots. Like, we got robots now. They're not like walking the streets, but like they're here, right? They're walking around. They're actually doing some crazy things. Um, yeah, so a lot of people are agreeing, kind of making our own custom music for the future for sure. Mixed Club, you've been making music for almost 40 years. Wow, I've never stopped. I'll just find a new road, I think. Yep, I think you will too. I think you got to have faith. We all got to kind of have a little bit of faith right now. I'm just being honest with you. I don't have a clear road of where this is going to go. Faith, that's the whole thing with faith, is you don't have any confirmation on it. It's just kind of something you're hoping, and you're kind of trying to hold on to whatever you possibly can for yourself right now, and holding on to what you can control. And what you can control is what's going on in your mind and in your heart and in your emotions and stuff. And that's kind of what I think we want to create, some community and some space to be able to express that right now. That's kind of what this is all about. Yeah, thank you, Brad. I appreciate it. If everybody hit the thumbs up, yeah, I'd appreciate that. That'd be cool. No pressure, of course, but will the power of music plus picture endure, or will it become as dated? I don't know. Definitely what I think could happen in the next couple of years as people can prompt in, video with music, is people will be making their own movies. Like, that's coming soon, right? It's like you don't have to wait for Pixar to make an animated feature. You can make your own, right? Granted that you have your own characters you've created and all that kind of stuff. A lot of it's going to be garbage, though, right? That's the tricky part about it, is like, think about what happened with music is everybody can put music online. Does that mean that we have a lot of new great music? Yes, but surrounding that great music is a lot of mediocre garbage, not interesting, not really good, because everybody can do it now. Not everybody. Pretty soon, everybody will be able to do it for sure. So it's going to be plus and negative. It'll allow some people to create movies that never could have before, and those will be like these savants that were like, oh my God, I'm so glad you got this technology because you make amazing content. I'm so glad that you're doing this. And most of it will go like this. Why did you even put this on the internet? This is horrible. This is so boring or derivative or whatever. We're not going to be interested in it. So the floodgates open and you get the good and the bad with it all. But you get a lot more bad, mediocre, not so interesting content. And you have to really sift through. I think, a big service that we're going to want in the future is curation. Like, we don't want to have to sift through a bunch of garbage content to find good stuff. We're going to want some trusted source person, maybe AI, I don't know, something that says, hey, we won't show you anything that hasn't been vetted by at least 100,000 people to say, we like this is really good. And you're going to have some sort of a trust with that, because the amount of content about to hit the internet, it's already been exploding. It's just going to go exponential from here. So we need some sort of quality control and some sort of a limitation on what we're being exposed to, because it's just too much. It already feels that way right now, right? Hey, Mono, good to see you, man. AI will change things. It's inevitable. It will change what a composer artist and not replace humans and won't replace artists. I see Udio and similar becoming tools with a lot of editing options. Yeah, for sure. Blue Sky is saying in the future AI will prompt itself with AI content. Yeah, and there's a big debate about that. Like, as more AI music hits the internet and then AI models are scraping the internet trying to find new content, it's going to start training on its own output. And there's this, I don't know if it's been proven or not proven, but the idea is that it'll basically start to kind of destroy its own output because it's basically training on its own derivative stuff. So the creativity and variety will start to diminish, and basically every song will kind of start to look the same, sound the same. You're starting to see a little bit of that with some of these image generators where the data it was trained on. I watched one video about this. It was like, it was training on elephants. So the word elephant and all these pictures of elephants. And the data that it trained on was very varied, like different colored elephants, different poses, all this really cool variety and all these different pictures of elephants. And the output, they were different, but they all had to kind of have similar coloring and similar just where the elephant was standing and how they were positioned. So that you saw this homogenized output on the output of it, and you saw all the variety in the input of it. There's something to that there. I'm not an expert on it. I don't know if I can tell you exactly how that's going to work out, but that is going to be something that, like, how do AI models train on original, new, cutting edge music? I don't know. Live music is one thing, but not everyone is that extroverted. There's also many jobs in the background. I think, for example, stock music as a business is just eradicated now. Yeah, I think its days are numbered for sure. You can still make money right now, like literally right now. But yeah, you can kind of see that like a lot of these companies, especially Udio, Suno, that kind of thing, they're going to create these very, very cheap and easy to access stock licensing opportunities for people to use music very quickly. So yeah. That's definitely coming. It definitely feels that way. The chess analogy holds up related to live music as we currently know it, but it doesn't really work for recorded music. You don't think so, Willie? Like when you listen to recorded music, you're not interested in the person that wrote the song. Like when I find a new artist, speaking for myself, maybe not everybody, of course, I hear a new song, not live. I hear a new song just on YouTube or something like that. I immediately want to go find out. I love the song. I want to go find out, what does this person look like? How old are they? Where are they from? What other music have they put out there? I immediately get curious about the human being behind the music in just a recorded fashion. So maybe that's just me. Maybe other people aren't that curious. But I think that's across the board why we become fans of artists. It's not that they're like, it starts off as like, I love that music. But very quickly, for some of my favorite bands, it becomes like, I like these people, right? The music got me in the door, but it was the people that had me stay. And the people and their personalities and their humor and whatever, all the things that they've done throughout the years and the way that they perform and put out music videos, that's what actually gets me wanting to keep coming back for more music and more albums, right? And of course, they keep hopefully delivering high quality music. But, we're all fans of bands and artists that make, a stinker here or two, make an album that's just like, oh, yeah, that's not their best. But you still stick around. Why do you stick around, right? If it's just about the music, it's just about the output, you go like, well, I'm no longer a fan of them. I'm done. They come back and they do something different. You're like, okay, now I'm back in. I think I like where it's at. So we if there's human beings behind it, we kind of usually give them the benefit of the doubt and we go like, well, that one wasn't my favorite, but I still love you guys. I love what you're doing and I still want to support you. So that's just my 2 cents on it. Maybe I'm maybe alone in that. I don't know. Purple saying the best player being beaten at chess just opened up the playing field. Yeah, that's an interesting point of view on it. So yeah, you're welcome, Alex. Glad that was helpful. Will AI be able to play like on stage? Yeah, there's definitely going to be AI gimmicky things happen in the future where it's going to be like a robot doing something musically. Again, are you going to see a stadium full of people wanting to see that? I don't think so. I think you'll get some gimmick. You'll get, kind of like with that Red Lobster thing that just happened where they put AI music in their program. It got the headlines because they sort of broke ground. They were the first to do it, but eventually you're just going like, okay, yeah. And imagine the next company doing that again. Is that going to get as much of a headline to get them in the news? I don't think so, because it's like, well, that was the novel first time. Okay, interesting, you did it. And then it's like, yeah, but that's old news. Somebody has already done that. So I just don't think that AI will be used as a tool for humans playing and performing for each other. I definitely think that's going to be used. Some of them will be more gimmicky than others, but some will be a flop and we'll go like, I don't want that ever again. And some will be really cool and enhance the experience for the people that are watching the, one thing I can definitely say is audio quality at at concerts oftentimes sucks. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. If AI can help make sure that no matter where you are in the room, you're getting the front row seat, the best seat in the house, like you've got the mix that the engineer has, somehow AI can do that in a room, we should do that. That would be really, really cool. I don't know exactly how technically you could do that, but that would be a use of AI technology that helps enhance the experience. So you're not hearing all the echoes and the garbage and this like, man, I can hear the cymbals, but I can't hear the bass player, right? All these kind of weird things that we get on these live performances. All right. Well, sorry to go ahead and not get to the rest of your comments, but anyways, I guess I'll just leave you guys with what do I want to leave you with? I'm looking at my notes to make sure I covered everything. Yeah, just know that like whatever you're going through, you're excited about this, you're unfazed by it, you're depressed, you're giving up, you're sitting in the suck of it all. Just know that you're not alone. That's definitely what I want you to take away from this. There's somebody else going through exactly what you're going through. I probably have been going through what you've been going through, or I will, or I have in the past. So just reach out. That's kind of what I want you guys to know, is that like you can reach out, and don't feel like you're like just because you're not feeling really optimistic about AI doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. I think there's also this kind of pressure we can feel of like, if you're not rah, rah, rah excited about AI, then you're just a dinosaur and you're going to get left behind in the dust. I don't buy into that. I think we can all adapt and accept and move on with this and figure out how we're going to go at our own pace. And absolutely, blue sky, go outside, get inspired, touch grass. Absolutely. Sometimes exercising, just getting some sunshine can really kind of help reset us. And just know that whatever you're going through, it's okay to go through what you're going through. The only way to get through a dark time, a depressing time, is to go through it. You can't get around it. We can't walk away from it, because the more that we want to distract ourselves, pretend that we're not depressed about it, whatever, you know, try to just basically pull ourselves away from the uncomfortable emotions that we're feeling, the more they're going to sit there behind you like a ghost and just haunt you forever. Like you're not going to outrun them. They'll just sit there. So you're going through this for a reason. You know, there was actually this book I've been reading about, like kind of, you know, sort of perfect timing of accepting the things that you cannot change. And one of the things they said is like, you know, one of the reasons why you want to try to get into this place where you can accept the things you cannot change is because, not just because you just can't change them. So it's like, well, your only option is basically just kind of become at peace at things that are basically going to just push you around and hurt you. So you might as well just accept those. That's kind of a bleak interpretation of that. This interpretation I loved. It was like a reframe, was like, when you accept that you cannot change what's happening, you're participating in your evolution, right? Right now we're getting squeezed. You guys can feel it. We're getting squeezed. But just like a lemon or an orange, the squeeze is what you need to get the juice, to get that next level, to go up to that next level, to evolve, to change, to grow, to move on to some other new plateau that you can't see right now because we're clinging on to the thing that we know and we're comfortable with. And that's just normal, and that's human for us to do. So as this pressure and as this, like, you know, really intense, uncomfortable transition is happening, doing our best to try to be graceful with ourselves, to try to be graceful with each other, being really kind to each other, being really respectful with each other. That's where we can actually grow. And so that's where my hope comes from of this. Even though I'm not initiating this change, I don't like this change, I'm not happy about this change, I'm trying to do the best that I can to try to go surrender, right? Just hands up, it's happening, and I gotta just, it's like, this is where the current in my life has taken me, and all of us, right? This current is kind of taking us in a certain direction. It might not be where we want to go. It might be banging us against the side of the river, and it's like, damn it, that hurts. Like, why is this happening to me? But this is what's happening, like it or not. And I think on the other end of this, I believe, I have faith, just faith, that we will all be better off, and we will all be going to a next level of our lives, of our music careers, of our music creation ability, of ourselves as human beings. I believe we're going to go into an amazing new place. But in order to go to that new place, we got to be uncomfortable. It's like a birth, right? A birth is messy, it's noisy, it's chaotic, it's uncertain, it's scary, right? But on the other end of it, you got this beautiful new baby, you got this beautiful new life, you got this absolute new promise of something on the other end of it. So that's definitely what I'm holding on to. That's definitely what I'm, you know, struggling with and trying to find my optimism with. And hopefully that's useful for you in one way or another. So that's what I got. Thank you guys so much. If you're watching this afterwards and you made it through the whole thing, let me know that, actually, because you're a champion. This has been a long stream, one of my longest, I think. And thank you guys for your transparency, your honesty, for whatever side you're on, and the challenges. I don't expect you guys to agree with me on all this kind of stuff. I've been loving the sort of pushback. I've been getting some great pushback at some points on like, hey, I don't think you got this right, or I think you're not looking at this. Like, I love that too. It's challenging to hear that, but I know it, again, I have faith that that's where I grow as I get challenged and I go like, yeah, I kind of need to think about this in a different way or go to another level. So thank you guys so much. Go ahead and leave a comment below as well if you weren't a part of the live chat and you got some more thoughts on this. I'd love to hear from you. Reach out, if you really are struggling, really feeling very depressed of all this. You can always email me, jesse@syncmymusic.com. I'd love to hear from you, or just comment below and let me know how you're doing. Just know you're not alone. So we're all in this together. We're all bobbing up and down in the middle of the water. And I trust that things will be okay on the other end of it. But, in the meantime, it's going to be rocky. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's going to be rough. So let's stick together and let's do our best to try to just be really, kind and understanding and gentle with each other. That's what I want to leave you guys with today. So have a fantastic rest of your Thursday, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.